And we kick off this evening with a look at the cinema.
I'm not a complicated man. I like cinema.
It's beautiful, beautiful cinema.
Cinema history come to life.
I found my solace in the small cinema I went to every Thursday night.
I'm a professor of cinema.
I go to the cinema for the stories.
There was no competition between the cinema and seminar.
I mean, it's not within the realm of conventional cinema.
And now,
here's Pace and Johnson
with a cinema review.
It's Monday, 8 EST, April 21st, and thank you for joining me for another episode of Cinemaster's Reviews. We have an exciting show this week tonight. We are reviewing Sinners, the new movie directed by Ryan Coogler, starring Michael B. Jordan, as well as the remake of The Wedding Banquet, the Ang Lee film from the 90s. It has been remade. I say we jump right in, starting with our first review tonight. Sinners, like I said, this is directed by Ryan Coogler, coming straight off his success with the Black Panther films. This follows a pair of brothers. They are I wrote their last name, the Moore brothers, Smoke and Stack, and they have dreams of opening up a blues club and just a general like music club. And we open up in the film. We see them acquire this land to open up this club at. They need staff that they want to help build it. They have help from their younger cousin Sammy, played by Miles Caton. I believe this is one of his first roles. And that is the first half of the film. And the second half of the film, I'm sure to let you know, I'm going to be speaking of this film as if you have seen the trailer, so it seems like I'm giving away a lot. This is just what the trailers have given away. Late into the night, they are attacked by vampires, and they need to stay in the club and figure out how they're going to survive until daybreak to figure out how they can take down these vampires. Ryan Coogler is a director who I've really, really enjoyed since he broke out onto the scene. I think Fruitvale Station is a really impressive debut. I think Creed is one of the better legacy sequels of a long dormant franchise. I think the way that movie just sort of revitalized the Rocky franchise is really, really impressive. I really like Creed 2. I loved Creed 3, but that first Creed is genuinely, like, with the exception of that first Rocky, maybe the best film in that franchise. I loved Black Panther. He kind of got the job of Black Panther off of his work on Creed. And while I wasn't the biggest fan of Black Panther Wakanda Forever, I don't necessarily blame Ryan Coogler, as he had to deal with a lot of rewrites with the script, with the passing of Chadwick Boseman. He had to deal with a lot of backstage drama with Letitia Wright. So coming to this film, I just really wanted to see what Coogler could do with an original story as well as a mid-range budget. Like, the movie cost around $90 million. Which isn't like cheap by any means, but like definitely not like to the level of like the Black Panther films. And I gotta tell you, Ryan Coogler absolutely soars in this mode, and I would love to see him direct more films of this style, because he feels right at home directing this vampire film. And I just want to say, it is such a breath of fresh air seeing an original blockbuster that has these like genre taps with the horror genre and with the thriller genre, and see it in theaters like this, not based off anything. And I do really want to thank Ryan Coogler for cashing in his good merit he got from directing those Black Panther movies, which I do really like. But it's just such a fresh air seeing an original movie of this scale in theaters. One of the things I think this movie does perfectly is it captures the setting of 1930s Gothic Mississippi so well, like down to the costuming of all the characters, like all of them, like both Smoke and Stack, they have these really defining like hats. I love the look of Haley Steinfeld's character, like the second we are introduced to her, she gets off this train, you immediately know that like she like there's just some way of how Ryan Coogler shoots her to the way that it really makes her stand out. All the costumes, all like the music from Ludwig Göransson, I think, is really, really phenomenal. It uses blues really well to help establish this setting. Everything feels like a little like wet, which is fun because it is in Mississippi, which is like close to Louisiana. So we're like close to like the the swamp-esque setting, and it really helps capture that like really grimy and gothic southern nature, and I find that really effective, and really helps make this movie stand out in its setting. Michael B. Jordan playing these two twin brothers. As I said, he's playing both these characters, and this is maybe the best performance I think I've seen from him. Michael B. Jordan has been in every movie directed by Ryan Coogler, and it's super fun to see him in a role this meaty. Both the characters of Smoke Moore and Stack Moore are both very, very defining. I want to make sure I get both characters right, so I'm just going to look that up. But yeah, one of the brothers is much more like commanding and definitely more like the head of the family, and one of the brothers definitely has more like a troubled past. Like I said, his relationship with Haley Steinfeld's Mary, they have a little bit of a tumultuous relationship, and yeah, okay, I got it. Smoke is the brother that is the much more like commanding brother. He's sort of like the brains behind the operation to create this blues club, while Stack is the one who is much more like the heart of the music. He's the one that is hiring everyone that has like this like heart and like from like an artistic mindset, and how these characters interact with each other as the movie goes on. I think Michael B. Jordan does such a good job at giving each character a defining like personality, so you're never confused who each one is. I will admit, Smoke is a character that is always wearing a blue hat. Stack is always wearing a red hat. That definitely helps set those characters apart. But yeah, a lot of that does come down to Michael B. Jordan's great performance. The entire ensemble cast is excellent. Miles Caton gives a really great debut performance as young Sammy. The character of Stack kind of is sort of like picking on Sammy at the beginning, but he slowly starts to realize how cool Sammy is because of just how musically gifted Sammy is, and you see all these scenes, and Miles Caton kind of like performs in a very wide-eye sense. Delroy Lindo is an actor who I think every time he shows up, he is always giving like a phenomenal performance, and here he carries a lot of the comedic heart of the film. There are some comedic scenes in this movie that do seem a little bit too out of place, like they just seem to be go a little bit too over the top. But almost everything Delroy Lindo does, it just shows how he's just such a just national treasure. His character's name is Delta Slim, and when we meet him, he's like half drunk in the middle of the day, and Stack and Smoke is just like, hey, do you want to come join this blues club? And he's like, yeah, I may as well. And just seeing how he interacts with all of the members of the club is just so much fun. And then yeah, the other actress I wanted to talk about was Wunmi Mosaku. I really hope I'm pronouncing her name right. She plays Annie, and Annie is Smoke's like estranged wife, and their relationship isn't quite as tumultuous as Stack and Mary, who you can clearly tell these characters were sleeping with each other long before the movie started, and then Stack ran away. Annie and Smoke, there is a little bit more like under the surface. You can tell they both love each other, but they just know they just aren't quite right for each other because they know like they just have different outlooks on life. And yeah, Wunmi Mosaku really brings a lot of the heart to this movie. Annie may have honestly been my favorite character with the exception of Sammy, and I think a lot of that comes down to Wunmi Mosaku. The villain of this movie, Remick, played by Jack O'Connell. Jack O'Connell gives a phenomenal villain performance because when we first meet him, when he first comes to the club, he's presented in a very like comedic tone. Him and his like vampire friends like want to enter the club, but they can't because they have to be invited. By the way, that is a vampire rule that is fairly famous in vampire lore, but the movie doesn't quite explain, but it has a lot of fun with that, with the fact that vampires cannot enter a location unless they are invited. Don't want to spoil too much about that. But yeah, when we first meet Remick and their vampires, they're sort of presented as like these sort of like doofy like Irish Southern vampires. They're like singing on their guitar, but the second that character needs to be threatening, Jack O'Connell is able to carry that in such a great way. And yeah, he is really frightening in this film. But yeah, just in regards to the pacing of this movie's around 2 hours and 20 minutes, and it does a great job of that first half, showing how all these characters know each other, showing how all these characters are coming together to create this like really like beautiful thing in this community in southern Mississippi, where obviously was a time when Black people were trying to find ways to express themselves both artistically and just as human beings. And then that second half of the film, when these vampires do come in, and just how they now have to defend themselves, I think the story is paced beautifully, and I think it's really fun seeing that. When the vampires do show up, you can tell that Ryan Coogler has a lot of love for the thing, because there are a lot of scenes where, like, okay, so certain characters start turning into vampires, and if you end up getting bitten, you can't really stop yourself from turning. So characters start like doubting themselves when they have to take like certain tests. Like there's this really fun scene where one of the characters says, okay, we're all gonna go around and we're gonna take a bite of this garlic to see if we're okay. And one character says, this is ridiculous, I'm not going to do it. And all the characters just point their guns at this character. And I think that's really fun. And you can see these characters start to turn on each other, start to like doubt each other because of the situation that's going on. And yeah, that is really well done. The actual like climax of this film, when we get to the final battle with the people that are left in the club against this like army of vampires, it's really well done. I think Ryan Coogler is able to take the $90 million and honestly make a climax that is a lot better than a lot of like big like multi-hundred million dollar budget multi-$100 million blockbusters that you see, mainly because he does the wise choice of shooting the climax at night. Obviously, it's with vampires, so you can probably guess this is going to be at night. But the lighting is done in such a way where you can still see where everything is. There's this one huge action scene where all of these characters are fighting different characters. You never have like a point where you're confused about what's going on. And yeah, Ryan Coogler knows how to direct action. This is probably the best climax I think I've seen compared to either of the climaxes of the Black Panther films, which while I do really love that first one, I think most people would agree the climax of that film is probably where it kind of lacks a little bit. What I do want to say is not only is the climax excellent, the actual like ending of this film, specifically the mid-credit scene, if you are going to see this movie, do not leave when the credits start rolling, because you're going to miss one of the most pivotal scenes that I think ties all of the themes together about like gentrification, about prejudice, about like what the vampires in this movie represent. I think it does a great job of like putting a nice bow on that and seeing where all the characters end up. I've heard there's also an excellent cameo in this film. I did have to look it up because I'm a little bit I do lack a little bit of knowledge for where this cameo comes from, but from everyone I've been hearing, I've heard this cameo is excellent. Yeah, like I said, the score by Ludwig Morrison is incredible, and it captures it incorporates blues perfectly. There was a scene towards the middle of this film, right before the vampires show up, where we are watching Sammy perform. Where I could see some people saying, oh, it takes them out of the movie because it's clearly just Ryan Coogler showing off as a director. I think it is incredible. You are seeing how music just brings all these cultures together, how it brings all these generations together, how we just see like forward into time. And I think that scene is going to go down as one of these scenes of the year. And yeah, I just think Ryan Coogler just does such a great job at expressing both directing both a movie of community while also directing a horror movie of these characters just trying to survive for their lives. If I were to review this movie on a scale of 0 to 10 videotapes, 0 being absolutely awful, 10 being absolutely incredible, I'm going to give it a very high 9.5 out of 10. Like I said, there are some comedic moments that kind of feel a little bit out of place, but for the most part, I think Ryan Coogler just showed that he doesn't need a franchise to make an incredible film. We already kind of knew that with Fruitvale Station on the very small indie level. Now we see that he can work in the studio level. I think he just put himself on the level of directors like Christopher Nolan, like Greta Gerwig, or like Jordan Peele as just event directors by making such a fun, thrilling movie like this. Please go see this in theaters. This is the type of movie that I really wish we got more of from both a like wide studio scale and just the fact that it is just such an original film. I have not talked to anyone that just like doesn't like this movie. I think you are going to have a great time, even if you're not like the biggest horror fan. It's not the scariest film, but you are just going to have an absolute excellent time watching this film. Yeah, Sinners gets a big thumbs up from me. But I say we jump right into our second review of the night. That is the remake of The Wedding Banquet, directed by Andrew Ahn. This follows. This is a remake of an early Ang Lee film. Ang Lee, Oscar-winning director for Brokeback Mountain and Life of Pi. This was a movie he made early in his career about a Taiwanese couple that is trying to stay in America, and they end up with their family coming to town. They one of the characters ends up essentially staging a wedding with another immigrant who is trying to stay in the country and needs someone to get their green card. And they essentially say, hey, if you marry me, I will pay for you to have your baby, because they are a gay couple. And lots of hijinks ensue. Certain family members end up flying in. Really good movie. Watched it for the first time this week. This movie kind of updates it. It's from immigrants of different backgrounds. Instead of a Taiwanese immigrant, this time it is a Korean immigrant who is trying to keep his green card. This character, Min, played by Han Ji-chan, wants to marry his boyfriend, played by Bowen Yang, but his boyfriend Chris just isn't ready to commit to marrying him yet. So able to keep that green card in order to stay in America and to keep hold of his family's fortune, his grandma, played by Yoon Jung-yu, who is really great in this movie, as she was in Minari, won an Oscar for that movie. He says, hey, I'm going to stage a marriage of my friend Angela, played by Kelly Marie Tran. And essentially tells Angela, hey, I know you and your partner, Lynn, I believe, Lee, played by Lily Gladstone, have been trying to have a kid through IVF. If you marry me, I will pay for your IVF, and hopefully we can all just sort of live happily. I can still be with Chris. We'll be married just by law, essentially. But while they're attempting to get married, just like in the original, Min's grandma says, hey, I want to come see this wedding, and you can't just go to a courthouse to get married. We are going to have a big giant wedding in order to celebrate you guys getting married. And a lot of things end up happening there. Don't want to really go into spoilers. But yeah, this is a really sweet romantic comedy with 4 compelling characters. Like I said, Angela, played by Kelly Marie Tran, Lee, played by Lily Gladstone, Chris, played by Bowen Yang, and Min, played by Han Ji-chan. These are 3 of those actors I'm fairly familiar with. I haven't really seen Han Ji-chan in too many other movies, but I do think he gives a really great performance. The 2 actors that are given the most amount to do in this film, without getting into too many spoilers, are Bowen Yang as Chris and Angela, and Kelly Marie Tran as Angela. I'd say Angela is probably the main character of this film. Her and Chris are introduced to us as being best friends. So they're kind of the characters that carry everything together. They're characters that have known each other since very young. They're very platonic, and I do think their relationship was a really great portrayal of platonic friendship in film between men and women. Really always love when I see that. I think Chris is the character that's probably the hardest to like, because throughout the movie we're always wondering, well, why doesn't he just tell Min how he does feel, because clearly Min does love him. Why does he just get out of his own head? But Bowen Yang does a great job at playing this character that is a little bit unlikable, that but we're never rooting against, because we see how much he does care about the other characters in his life. both the actors who played the maternal figures in these characters' lives, like I said, Yoon Yoo-jung plays Min's mom, Min's grandma, and Joan Chen, love that woman from Twin Peaks. She plays whatchamacallit, she plays Angela's mom. And the relationship between Angela and her mom is a little bit tricky throughout the film, mainly because we learned that Angela's mom was not too accepting of Angela when she did come out. So Joan Chen does a great job playing like this mom that's like trying to be as supportive as she can, but you clearly tell in the way Joan Chen portrays her that she's just not like the happiest person, like that she's not like the she's still not super comfortable with the fact that her daughter is dating a woman. Lily Gladstone as Angela's partner Lee, really good. Not given a ton to do. One of my main issues with this movie is there's just points where like characters will just leave the film for like a portion of the movie, and we're just sort of like wondering like, okay, where did those characters go? Honestly, my main issue with the film is, unlike the original Wedding Banquet, that I think is both a little goofier while also being a little bit more dramatic, this movie has a tough time really balancing that comedic tone. And there are just scenes that just feel very slow and very dry, and I'm not quite sure Andrew Ahn had quite the strongest idea whether or not he wanted to make a full-on like romantic comedy in the style of maybe The Big Sick or Crazy Rich Asians, or whether he wanted to make a full-on dramedy. And I think this movie is constantly at tug of war with what it wants to be. But for the most part, I do think at the end it does come out to be a fairly sweet film. Like I said, I don't want to spoil too much because there is a plot point that does involve two of the characters that happens towards the middle of the film that definitely throws a wrench into this whole big wedding banquet situation. But aside from that, I do think the heart of this film is with its four characters, and I do think it is a very, very, very sweet film. If I were to rate this movie on a scale of 0 to 10 videotapes, I'm going to give it a solid 7.5 out of 10. Again, this is nothing that I think this is not like a groundbreaking film by any means, but I do think it is a fairly good remake of the original Wedding Banquet. It doesn't do too much different, but honestly, with the lack of big studio rom-coms that we get today, I'm always happy to get one like this, even if it's not like the absolute greatest. If you do like romantic comedies, I would suggest seeing this in theaters. It's not like a mandatory theater watch as far as I'm concerned. You probably can wait for streaming, but if you do like seeing romantic comedies and if you do want more than in theaters, I would recommend going to see this one. But yeah, that does bring us to an end of our show. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to like this video and subscribe to the video store. It helps grow our channel a lot. There will be no show next week. I'm actually going to be out of town, so I don't believe I'm going to be able to see any movies, but I will be back the following week, and we are just about ready to get into the summer movie season. I believe Thunderbolts will be the movie I'm going to be reviewing when I come back, as well as some other movies. But yeah, thank you all for watching. It's been a pleasure talking with you, and remember, as always, watch more movies.
And the award for most vapid film review of the century goes to...
Okay, movie review. Okay, I thought it was beauty.
And he's now in cinema hell, where one day we'll all be reunited.
This is me at the Regal Cinema crying as I did through much of the film.